So at the end of it, if you calculate that way,
they will still be owing. They will still be owing the company.
Not the other way around.
Exactly.
Have you contacted the bank?
No. When I saw this, because the bank did not, nobody called me. I don't even know who to talk to, because the last MD was Seminatari, and I still saw Seminatari about 3 months ago. We spoke. He never spoke with me about any debt.
The reason, you know, I think it's also important that we differentiate, because the banks were told by the CBN to publish their
names of debtors.
Their names of people who owe them toxic debts. These debts have become toxic, unfortunately, and they do have the capacity to sink the banks. And we know what happened in 2009 and how the country had to rally around. The CBN had to bail out banks and even set up AMCON, and you know, we don't want to go back there again. So that's why we've gotten to this situation. But let's also differentiate between the papers, you know, looking at this list, looking for names of prominent Nigerians that they know.
To put them there.
And no, I'm putting it on the front pages of their papers. And, you know, and the banks actually doing, because I think the banks published them. They were tiny, tiny names. You have to search to know who is who. Oftentimes, you just see the names of the companies, the directors whom you don't even know.
Yes.
And then, you know, those are some of the big debtors that we see. Are you planning to sue anybody?
Oh, yes, of course.
Who are you planning to sue?
First, Punch. Well, first on the list is Unity Bank, which the company does not owe money. They are the ones owing. It's part of the muzzle that you talk about. When a bank is owing you money and they turn around to go and publish that you are the one owing them, it's not everybody that has the opportunity to come in onto channels and defend themselves. That's why many of these debts, if you hear the stories, I don't know, I'm not making any suggestion that the people are not owing. There are people that are owing banks, and many of them, I understand, are being owed by the government. It's irresponsible for you to borrow money and do not want to pay back. I don't see why. Businesses can go wrong, you know, and if it goes wrong, you go to the bank and negotiate. So if I knew I owed Unity Bank, or I thought I owed Unity Bank any money, I would have gone to speak with them. They've been talking about this thing. No, not less than about 70% of the debtors to the bank. Their names are not published here.
How do you know that?
Oh, because some of them, they said it, that people came in to negotiate. Some said 50% in the newspapers, that they came to negotiate with them, and so they're not publishing their names.
No, that was open. I mean, we all knew that, because as the deadline was approaching, the banks also issued another statement that, look, this date is approaching. We will publish the names according to the CBN directive.
Exactly.
And that sent a lot of people scampering to the banks to renegotiate, which was what the CBN wanted. I mean, and even the banks as well. It's not like as if they wanted to publish names. That wasn't their intention. They want their monies back.
Exactly.
So it says interesting that your company did not get the notice at all.
Because there was no debt. I have just told you the transaction that happened.
Not because the company went under.
Well, the company had to go under at the end of the day. It's not that they were owing anybody.
But isn't it possible that there must be some correspondence between the company and maybe Tom?
Yes, as Tom, he said he has the file. But Tom is in the US now. I called him yesterday. He said he's coming in. He has all the details of the transaction. So the one he explained and called when I asked the specific questions. They do borrow money aside from this money for supply of ATM from these people. He said no. How come they say you are owing 81 million? He said he borrowed 12 million from them. So but that much he briefed me, that he borrowed some money to pay for clearing, for 15% clearing. The total transaction was 63 million naira that the purchase order the bank gave to IPD, the company. And they gave them an upfront payment of 44 million. He now said it was not enough. He borrowed 12 million naira to conclude the transaction, leaving a balance of 19.something million. And that 19.something million was the guarantee the bank took. You know, the broadband branch took the guarantee of 19 million that the head office was owing the company and borrowed them the 12 million. So they were supposed to be given a balance of about 6 to 7 million naira. That is what the bank is still owing the company as we speak.
Yeah, but I mean, now 19 million is not equivalent to the 81 million that this company said to be owing.
No, even 12 million. They were owing, they borrowed 12 million from them. They said it's now 81 million. If we have any facts, they can bring it that is different.
But isn't it possible that the CBN might have gone through all of these names before they're published?
That is what one would have expected. But obviously not so. Because they are using this in their paperwork. Sometimes they do their auditing and all this, and they say, you are owing, this company is owing me. And they believe that will show up their balance sheet somehow. So sometimes, I don't know how they calculate this stuff. I did not even bother about it because it was not a company that was in my radar, completely. Not at all. What I was saying is that if I owe a bank, I will go to them and negotiate.
So it came as a complete surprise to you.
Total surprise,
because saw your face on the
exactly
front page of.
When the guy spoke with me, I said, "This is what happened. That's my understanding of the transaction." He said, "Oh, it's not written down like that in the bank." I said, "Please."
But was he surprised himself, Tom, when you told him about?
Oh no! When I told Tom that they have published my name and that of Ade in the newspapers, he said, "Wow." And I said, "This bank claims that you owe 81 million." He said 81 million. That's he actually borrowed against the money that the bank was owing the company. And that is why it was a very straightforward issue. Nobody was expecting, at the worst case scenario, even if the bank would not pay the profit, they should have at least settled the debt that the company actually took, the 12 million the company took from them, secured by the money they were supposed to pay them. So I still don't understand what happened.
So that money that they were supposed to pay served as some sort of collateral for the one who
That was the collateral. It's not as if Tom went to put a house down to say, I'm borrowing this money so that if I don't pay, you can sell my house. I'm borrowing this money because you owe me money. After I supply you, you pay me. He supplied the goods.
So what's your next line of action?
It's the court. It's the court. There is no other way. It takes a long time. It's very frustrating.
You're not looking to have meetings. You're not looking to meet the banks or to have a discussion. You just want to go straight to the court.
What kind of discussion do I want to have with them? Am I going to be asking them, what damage have they done to my name? How much am I going to be asking them for? Is it the 6 or 7 million naira they are owing? Or a punitive sum? It's just the judicial system takes so long. You can be in court for. Luckily, they put one of my son's name. So even if I die after this case is had, the boy will still be there challenging them.
As board members.
Yes. It's ridiculous. People we have been working to protect our name and our integrity in the society. And everybody in this country, when you say somebody is a debtor, particularly from the side of the country where I come from, they look at you what kind. And it's totally embarrassing.
So that means for those who are truly owing,
yes,
the publication will go a long way in helping the banks recover their debts.
I don't know whether it might develop a thick skin. Some of them say, you have done your worst, so what else? What the heck? So it might be counterproductive. Because after you publish somebody's name in the newspapers, what else do you want to do? It's not a crime.
Did this kind of conversation pop up while you were in Senate committee? Yeah, that is banking in terms of ways to recover debts.
Well, in a way, there was no direct discussion, even though we had the issue of the meltdown at that time. And most of the policies that came on that we were discussing were many of the policies introduced by Sanusi that, by and large, helped the economy. So this particular policy, I don't know what the effect will be at the end of the day. We have so many daunting challenges in this country. The problem of corruption. When you look at it, if a person does legitimate business and you criminalize it, you now look at it, people might begin to wonder whether is it really worth it going to business? Because if you run a business, you must use the bank's money. And the banks are there to borrow money so that they can remain in business.